Hello, and welcome to our program. This is the Porch Ideas Network with your host, Dave and Mary Morris.
Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mary.
Welcome to our audio program featuring experts and fellow porch lovers who share tips for creating a fantastic porch and yard.
We are very excited to have you on our porch today, so let's get right to our topic.
Well, everybody, welcome to our porch this morning, and we're going to talk about a subject that Mary and I find kind of fun because we've had two houses built.
Yes, we have.
And we've been through the process a couple times, so we're not experts, but we're experienced.
We are.
And we've had issues and all kinds of things with plans and getting the house built. So this morning, we have with us Shawnna Steele. She is the founder of ReDesign HP, and she's with us. She modifies home plans, specifically a lot from family home plans, which we love. And so, Shawnna, we appreciate you being on the porch this morning with us.
Welcome, Shawnna.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Thank you very much, Shawnna. Well, why don't you just take a few moments and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, Shawnna?
Well, I modify house plans, and so when somebody finds a plan that comes pretty close to meeting their needs, or they just fall in love with it, but the garage isn't big enough, or there's not enough bedrooms, we work with them to customize the plan to suit the needs of their family. I've been doing this for, I think I'm going on 13 years, but
wow, that's great.
Just a year now by myself since I've started my own company. But it's probably been 15 years that the industry, made it available to people to modify house plans. So I was on the front end of all of that when it started taking off and customizing plans. Because for a long time, just the stock plan industry, you could just do what was out there available, and then if you wanted to change it, you changed it with your builder on site. But as building departments got more strict, they wanted to see the plans modified, and so that's where we came into play to just help people get things through the permitting process.
Oh, that's excellent, because we've had two experiences, as I said before, and one of them was they wouldn't let us. It was a builder. They had plans, and we pretty much couldn't do a whole lot to that plan. It was kind of stock plan.
Yeah.
And this particular house we're in now, the builder was great, and we were able to do quite a bit of modifications to it. Almost became a custom home design at that point in time. So, and I know that online plans have just boomed a lot, and a lot of people are going online because they can find all kinds of great designs. So being able to modify them is really, really great.
Yeah, it's a great way to personalize something, and you have such a great starting point. So you get the visual off the bat, and you find something that really does kind of aesthetically appeal to you, but then you get to personalize it for your own family's needs or your hobbies. That's a lot of what we do, is customizing the plan for, if somebody's a photographer or athletic, or there's custom elements you can put in there that just really take the plan to another level. And that's so fun to be part of that process.
Yeah, that is really fun. So you've been in this industry for a number of years, and I'm sure you've seen all kinds of different modifications, but what are some of the most common ones that you see, Shawnna?
Right off the bat, what comes to mind is garages. Cars are bigger. People just need storage. So a lot of times that's where, the change begins, at least, is making the garage bigger. And then from there, open concept, and you can do that with your builder. You can take down some walls and put in some beams to replace where a wall was. But really open concept plans and bigger garages, I think those are the trends that, it's in all of it goes full circle. It'll probably, in another 10 years, people will be putting walls back up. But right now, the trend is taking the walls down.
I know.
Having,
that's interesting.
sidelines.
That's interesting, because I just saw a little article online about people putting walls back up.
Really?
Starting to do that again.
I even threw that in there because the other day somebody's like, I don't want people to see my dishes when they walk in the front door. So now there's a wall there, whereas before that's what you wanted, the kitchen open to the family room. So like everything else, it cycles through, but it's just fun to be part of all of that.
And our particular plan, that's what we did. We have an open floor plan.
We have an open floor plan, and
Yeah.
we somewhat modified our garage too.
Yeah, we did. We added another bay. We added another bay. I'm a woodworker, and also, so
Right.
I had added an extra bay in the garage so I can use it as my shop. So for
Yeah,
that.
and I find that's what drives people a lot are their hobbies.
That's good to know.
You know, and if it's your first house, you're less likely to go there. But if you're building your second house, you really want to get it this time, you know, the way you want. And so it's again a lot of fun to help people kind of explore that and to figure out where their needs really, you know, what's going to drive the design.
That's a really good point, especially for first-time home builders, is figuring out how you live and the kinds of things you do in order, you know, and put that back into your plan.
Right. There was some architect that said it takes 3 houses to get the perfect home. Like you have to be on your third house to kind of work out all the kinks.
Yeah.
You know? Rarely do people make it through building 3 houses.
Well, after our first one,
that was a good statement.
Yeah, after our first one, I said, "Boy, we're never doing this again." But now we're on our second one, and it turned out to be fine. And you're right. Probably the third one now, I would change some other things.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
for that. So I guess it'd be good to know for people to understand what it takes to modify. You know, from your end, what you have to go through in order to modify a plan.
Well, the first step is finding something that you like, and really you should find something that the floor plan you like more than the outside, because it's easier to adjust the outside to the floor plan than it is to say, I like the outside of this house, but you know, because the offsets the house are what's driving the roof line, and then it becomes material choices after that. So I would say find a floor plan you like, and then from there, we can work with you on modifying it. The copyright laws require that we work on a PDF or a CAD file. The PDF is an electronic version of the plan that's emailed to us, but you can't open it up and start modifying it. It's if we work with a PDF, we have to redraw it into AutoCAD and then work on it. So typically we like to get the CAD file, which is the computer-generated drawings, but they can be pricey. So we always weigh the cost of the PDF against the cost of the CAD file.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And if you get on a website, like a stock home plan website, you'll see under their pricing specs, it'll have plan sets, like, 3 or 5 sets. And then if you go down a little further, you see the PDF file and the CAD file. And those are the formats we're required to work with. We can't work off of the paper copies because the copyright laws don't allow us to change those. If you're going to change those copies, you just do it with your builder on site. But for another architect to work on the plans, we have to have one of the formats that come with the copyright release that allows us to make changes.
Okay, so that brings up a good point. So if I'm online, and for instance, with like family home plans, and I would need to make sure I purchase the CAD or the PDF file, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And we go over that in our quotes, but that's about the first question I always get is, I don't want the CAD, I only need the 4 sets. So I do a little backpedaling to explain the need for the CAD file. It just saves us so much time if we have the computer files. But again, we do weigh that against, if the CAD file is $3,000 and the PDF's $1,000, for that $2,000, we might be able to redraw and modify the plan. So we always weigh the cost both ways, and then the time factor as well.
Yeah, what it takes to do that.
But typically we work with the computer-generated drawings is the most typical thing.
Yeah. I think one important thing to note too is that even if you go to a custom builder locally, not online, you go somewhere else, you're going to end up paying for that plan because it's included in the cost of the overall home. Nothing's free when you build a home. Right. And and that's the other thing is I encourage people to explore working with somebody locally as opposed to working with us, because there is value in that face-to-face communication. And for some people, just working through email and sketches is just too big of a hurdle. It becomes too frustrating. But for people who are comfortable with that, I think there's a big cost savings because we do so many that we're able to do it at a less for less
money, obviously.
Sure.
But there is a benefit. And again, for some people, it is the preferred route to find a local architect, and you still get those CAD files from Family Home Plans or wherever your source is, and then work with an architect locally. But I do think we tend to be about half of what they would be. So you know what you gain for the ease of working face-to-face with somebody, I think you pay for on the backside. So I think people who are comfortable with email and faxes and sketches, want to kind of hammer through something that way, that we're a great option for them. And we're running about 45 orders a month, so we're staying super busy.
Yes. And
there are a lot of people that find this process to work perfectly for them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Shawnna, have you come across any modifications, that people request that you just can't do, or you say that's just too complex, or it involves like the supporting beams or something like that?
Yeah. The one that I see the most that that always makes me a little bit cringe, because for the most part we can do just about anything.
Sure.
Given that you make some compromises along the way. But the one that always makes me go, oh, think twice about that, is if they find a house they like that's 3,000 square feet, and they say, I want this house, but I want to reduce it by 20%.
Wow.
Yeah. And that doesn't become, in your head, it seems like that would be so easy, but you can't reduce a bathroom by 20%.
Yeah.
Usually they take what they take,
Yes.
And garages the same way, or bedrooms, like you can't keep the same layout and just shrink it up. So, what makes more sense is if you need to get the square footage down, you say, take 2 feet through the middle of the house, and that becomes a better way to approach a reduction in square footage than an overall reduction. But a lot of people are like, I love it the way it is, but I don't want that much square footage. Well, it just doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to do. There's a lot that goes into house construction most people don't understand. And when you change,
for sure.
when you're going after that, that's a little bit difficult to do for that.
Well, I can understand why a homeowner would think that would be a simple modification.
Visually it makes sense. Well, we'll just make it smaller, but
right.
It doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't. And then the other thing I try to encourage people to do is to, if they're expanding the garage by 2 feet, and then the master bath sits right behind it, or the master bedroom, and that wall in the original plan is straight, I encourage them to take the 2 feet all the way back and keep that wall straight, because once you start creating offsets and changing the roof line, you change the appearance of the house.
That's
so the very thing you love about it, you can, so I try to help them think in terms of keeping those cut-throughs in a straight line. Like, if you're going to add 2 feet here, you add it back here, and then obviously upstairs too. Like, it goes both levels. So there is a lot there. And I say that, and, there are times we create an offset at the garage when there wasn't one, and it's fine. It's just I like to bring that to people's attention, because it does, slightly alter how it's going to look now.
Well, it also alters the overall cost, too, because when you change the roof line, you're adding, people don't realize how expensive that can be.
Creating an offset does add
that's expensive.
An expense, And likewise, the other request I get a lot is taking a house that has lots of offsets and making it into a rectangle, because they want to save costs. And then that makes me a little leery too, because I'm like, well, I don't think you're going to like it at the end, because you've taken away some of the charm. So it's that balancing act of, kind of maintaining what you like about it, and then maybe trying to save some to simplify a roof. But you can oversimplify it and then, have something with no character too. So.
Wow, that's great information.
That
That's
is really good information. Well, Shawnna, have you come across any modifications that are just kind of interesting that you'd like to share with us that, that people have asked along the years?
I think the one that I've seen a couple times that I always think, gosh, I would love that in my house, is where people have the laundry that's accessible from the master closet. So they position their laundry so that it has like a hall access, and that you don't have to go through the closet to get there. But then there's also a direct link or a door or pocket door from the master closet, and I always think that's just brilliant. Like,
Yeah, makes it easy.
who wouldn't love that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, that's pretty good. Yeah.
I think that's the one that like just always is like, oh, so fun. And then I just love a great pantry. That's again something I would incorporate if I were doing. And I love a good barn door. A lot of people are doing those now that slide, and it just adds so much character. And that can be done in a remodel as well. But that's kind of a fun little thing that, again, appeals to my aesthetics.
Yeah.
And is
Yeah,
that a
neat.
barn door on the inside you're talking about, like a sliding door for a
Yeah.
bedroom? Oh,
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, just to separate, or you see them sometimes on pantries. You'll see a barn door because it doesn't need to be airtight, or there's no sound issues with that.
Sure.
So you'll see a fun little barn door to slide across to get to your pantry, and I
that's
think,
neat.
that's so cute.
That's neat.
Very good. Well, maybe we could talk a little bit about cost.
Yeah. What
And,
associated with the modification? I mean, you get the
Right.
initial cost of the plan, but then, because we've been through it a couple times, is every time you change something, it costs
You
you
get
some
a
money.
cost,
So
yeah.
how does that work with the online plans and you modifying those?
Yeah, it kind of runs the gamut. But if you see the PDF is around $900, and you're changing the footprint of the plan, so the house is getting bigger, then you can assume that every sheet in that plan set is going to change, because you have to change the foundation. It affects the elevations. It affects the roof plan, the cross section. We even give you a new electrical plan. So when you see that, you can expect the cost of that PDF to double. Like we're going to have another $1,000 in time in redrawing and modifying the plan. But if at the end of the day you have what's now almost a custom home for $2,000, I think it's still a great route.
Yeah, it's a lot less expensive than other means of doing it, for sure. And you mentioned the electrical plan. I know that's one thing that we really looked at on our house was adding, receptacles and walking through in our minds where things would be and things like that. So you change those. You can change those also, correct?
We do. So what we do, what we build into the cost is to update the electrical to the new floor plan.
Okay.
So you're going to get a basic electrical. But if you want a custom electrical plan, I would encourage people to do that with their builder, because the local codes come into play, like how far the receptacles have to be apart and things like that. And you could just spend days working on just the electrical. So we try not to do the custom electrical, but I mean, we do a fair share of them, because, that's, again, the gap we're standing in. And for some people, they just want to see it and they want it done now. And, but many times I think it's better to just do that with your builder, because he can redline the electrical. Your building department wouldn't necessarily, and I think each building department's different on this, but you wouldn't necessarily need to see the electrical per the local codes. But I think they are getting stricter on that.
Oh, it's a good point to bring about local building codes. I do defer. We live across the country, different places, and they do they are different, different requirements.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the one thing we can't do. We're in Kansas City, so somebody who's building in Florida will have to have their plans engineered, and we can't engineer plans. So engineering has to do with the size of the beams and the footings and things like that. And a local engineer will have to go through the plan, whether we modify it or not. He'll have to go through the plans and make sure that they're going to meet the local building code. So he's going to add all of his notes to those plans at the end. And that's just not a step we can do.
Yeah, and that's a normal process.
And there's certain parts of the country, anything on the coast pretty much, New Jersey and Washington State's really strict. They have, I think, probably the strictest building codes in the country.
Wow.
But they're always, there are states that whenever I see an orders being placed there, that's my first thing to them is, are you aware that you're probably going to have to work with an engineer afterwards?
Because the codes. You mentioned that
honestly,
term.
Most people always are. They're like, oh yeah, we know. So.
Okay. And you mentioned the term redline. Can you explain what that is to folks?
Yeah. So back in the day, like that's how all plans were modified. A builder would just take a red pin to the plan and he would red line it up that we're moving this wall over 2 feet. And the building departments were fine with that because the plans were hand drawn. So changing a plan would be laborious.
Yes.
So they could, redlining a plan was the industry standard. But now that things are in the computer, they sort of want it changed. But I think you can still, especially certain building departments, will accept the red line set of plans.
Sure.
So you could, do something as extensive as this is now a 3-car garage.
Oh, okay.
But, and I don't know, there probably aren't a whole lot of building departments that would let that pass. But more so maybe that this door is going to a French door, something to that effect would be okay to still redline.
Sure. Well, Shawnna, we're going to get ready to wrap up here in a few minutes. Just one thing that I remembered that you said in the beginning, as far as helping homeowners to make the best of making modifications, is that you said to focus on picking the best floor plan first and not the outside of the house. Is there anything else that you would recommend to homeowners when asking for modifications that would help them?
Most websites will give you quotes for free. So, and then the other thing is the search engines are so nice now on those websites. So you can go onto a website and specify that you want a 3-bedroom home that's 1 story with a 2-car garage and a master separated from the other bedrooms. Those search engines are so nice. And then it'll bring up the plans. And then family home plans, I know if you find a plan you like, but you want to see other plans that this designer has designed, there's a link where you click on view plans by this designer, and it'll take you through his collection.
All right.
So you don't get their name per se,
right?
That's the big designer's name, but you can see his collection of plans. And I think once you find somebody that has a similar taste or style that you like, that's just such a nice way.
Oh, that's a great feature.
To kind of
help people.
Refine what you're looking for.
Oh, well, excellent.
All right.
Well, we're getting ready to wrap up now, Shawnna, so we'd like to give you an opportunity to tell our listeners a little bit about your company and
how they can contact you.
Get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, I work for the Family Home Plans website, so that's one way. You just go on there, you find a plan you like, and then there's a modification tab, and you can submit your request online or fax through the website. I have my own website, which is ReDesignHP.com. You can get on there, and it talks about the modification process, and there's some frequently asked questions, which would be great to look at if somebody's interested in going this route, because I do tend to see the same questions over and over again. Okay. And then there's the phone number and email on there, but the phone number is 913-938-8097. If somebody wants to reach me by phone, email probably is always the preferred method, just because I will respond to that all times of the day or night, whereas the phone is answered just during normal business hours.
Sure.
And just so our listeners know, your email address is Shawnna Steele at ReDesignHP.com, and that is spelled ShawnnaSteele at ReDesignHP.com.
And you do modifications for not just like family home plans, but for if somebody had other plans, they could get in touch with you also, correct?
Yeah, right. I work for some architects directly. I modify plans when they come to them, but then any website, as long as you're purchasing the PDF or the CAD, and I would walk somebody through that, but as long as it's the PDF or the CAD, we can work on it. Or, like I said before, any local architect or designer also is going to have the rights to work on that. So those plans come with the rights to modify them.
Very good.
Okay, well,
we really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for spending time with us today on the porch, Shawnna.
Absolutely. This was fun. You guys are great at your job.
Thanks.
Today's show was brought to you by PorchIdeas.com, and we hope you stop by to get ideas for designing, building, and decorating your porch.
You have been listening to the Porch Ideas Network. We invite you to subscribe to our podcast, Creative and Innovative Ideas for your porch and yard.